at today, man? What we starting at today? What we want to talk about first?
Let's talk about stats.
Stats. You want to talk about stats?
Yeah.
Stats. What about stats? Oh, stats and rings.
Yes.
Stats and rings. All right. So we gotta walk the people into how we got to this conversation, of course. So where it began?
We always have this conversation. We have this conversation a lot. And when it comes down to it, I'm with Coach Herm. You play to win
the game.
Play to win the game. As simple as that. So
all right.
In my opinion, if you have a player that helps your team win, then that player is better than a player that gets your team stats. So in my opinion, you can have somebody who's averaging 40, and if you're losing with that person and you wind up having somebody who's averaging 10, 6, and 5, then that person who's averaging 10, 6, and 5 is better as an individual. So that's how I look at it when it comes down to that. Now, with the caveat that I'm putting on that is, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about the number one options on your teams. That's what I'm talking about, the number one options on your teams, because you can, with a Robert Ory who has 7 rings, and we can compare him to AI who has no rings, and we can clearly see that AI is better. But we know Robert Ory was never the man on his team. So I'm saying, when we make those comparisons, we comparing the man versus the man. We're not comparing the man on one team versus a dude that's no shots to PJ Tucker, but we're not comparing PJ Tucker to Cat. Like, that's just what it is. So
okay. So instead of, you need the numbers to even get in the conversation. If Robert Ory averaged 20 points, since you brought up Robert Ory, if he averaged 20, maybe even, no, let me see, not even 20. You know what, 7 rings, if he averaged 20 points, he would be in the GOAT conversation. He'll be at least top 15. So you need the numbers to even walk through the door. Now, I think the championships complement the player. So, for example, you're a guy, Chris Paul. You like Chris Paul, right? That's my top 3 favorite point guard. You know, that's my guy. You know what I'm saying? Come get a t-shirt, Chris Paul, man. I got one on me, bro. One on me.
Man, Chris must have given you $1 at the arena or something.
Dude ignored the fuck out of me. Yo, I was trying to get a jersey and shit, but you know, COVID. So I was like, damn, I should just ask for a picture or something, a handshake. You know, I don't know. But yeah, he's still my dog. He's still, you know, he still held down New Orleans while he was here. But you know, I don't have him top 5 point guard. Nah. He don't got that for me. But what will excel him to rings? Now, I get the fact that I'm saying the rings compliment him. That's what I'm saying. He's in the conversation because of the stats. Now, if he didn't have the stats and he got a ring, that wouldn't matter. Like, look at Gary Payton. He got a ring, but it don't matter. We've been ranked on the strength of his stats, his accolades. That's what really matters. Like, Wilt holds all the records. Well, pretty much majority of them. That's why he's in the top 10 conversation. You need to put up that work to get that. Being the man on a team, that's cool and all, but then when you go down the line of who is technically the man on the team, that's when you run into people like Dave Cowens. You run into people like Bill Walton. You run into people like who else? No disrespect to him, but Chauncey Billups. You know what I'm saying? Now we're trying to say Chauncey Billups is in a conversation with Steve Nash. Because Chauncey got the ring. He was the man on the team with the ring. Nah, you need the stats to get where you need to be at. Again, the rings compliment you, it boosts you up. It puts you in that conversation. But let's not get it twisted. Jordan is the quote. My bad. It's just funny to say. My bad. Jordan is the GOAT, not because of his 6 rings. Even you can attest to that. If Jordan had 4 rings, he still would probably be in a lot of people's number 1. A lot of people was trying to consider him the GOAT when he had 3 rings. After he had 4 during the top 50 ceremony.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, people consider him the GOAT then, but mainly because of his stats. His stats where he needed to be at first. He was putting up the numbers, and that's my case, right?
All right, so this your thing. The people who you're naming, they have stats and they have rings. So if you're naming people that have stats and they have rings, though, that's a separate conversation because they have stats and they have rings. That's how you differentiate people who have rings when we're talking about stats and stuff like that. But if we going rings versus stats, then we would have to, and I'm saying, take the man off the teams, right? You take the man and somebody who does not have stats and or does not have favorable stats versus somebody who only has favorable stats. Because if you have the stats and you have the rings, that's going to put you in a different conversation. So if we're looking at Bill Russell is going to be ranked higher than Karl Malone. Karl Malone is still number 2 on the all-time scoring list. We're going to have Bill Russell ranked higher than Karl Malone. If we look at Bill Russell as far as a statistical standpoint, he's not really impressive. But when we talk about that hardware, he's impressive. No homo.
Okay, all right. We can stick with Bill Russell, but I want to know this. Jordan with no rings is Trace McGrady, pretty much, right? Something like that in that caliber type of conversation. Maybe without, Dominique in that area, whoever you rank high out of Dominique.
If he didn't get it done, we don't have a case for him.
All right,
we can say that.
Now,
yeah.
Here we go. What's Scotty average around 18? I guess. What's Scotty average around 18?
16.
If Jordan averaged 18 and 6-0 in the finals, he really in that conversation?
In the conversation of the GOAT?
Yeah.
Not really.
Because you need the numbers.
No, I didn't say that you don't need the numbers.
I'm saying this is what I'm saying.
So no, but I'm saying, let me listen to what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
The conversation is rings versus stats. It's not if you have stats and rings. Because if you have stats and rings, you're in a whole different I guess echelon of player. The people who have stats and have rings. We have to go somebody who's ringless. They can't sit at the table with Bill Russell. That's what I'm saying. Because you have to can't mess around and say, like, the person like Scottie Pippen doesn't really have stats like that, right? Like, we can't really name Robins that have stats. Like, we can't put CJ McCollum in the same conversation with Scottie Pippen. You feel me? Even though CJ might average 20, or whoever we could talk about who don't have rings. You feel me? So maybe we put Elgin Baylor in that conversation? Maybe that might be a caveat for as like Elgin Baylor.
What do you mean?
Him versus Scotty. Maybe we could take Elgin Baylor over Scotty. But I'm saying, like, if we're gonna name the outlier, that's not gonna prove the rule. Because if you're the man and you take your team to a championship, you're going to be superior to somebody who didn't. If we
watch out. What? So with your theory,
and I'm saying just one more example.
Higher. Why Chauncey not higher?
Because Chauncey will be an exception to the rule. Is Chauncey a Hall of Famer?
believe so.
Is he? He not a Hall of Famer yet. Ben Wallace is.
I get that.
Yeah.
Ben Wallace
Like,
more accomplished than him.
huh?
Ben Wallace accomplished than him.
He is. He is. But I'm just saying, like, if about like he has I don't know. I would say not that I'm trying not to shit on Chauncey because I'm not trying to mess over this man. I'm just saying
Look, he not the only outlier. Rings get handed out all the time, but
right.
what makes you special is them numbers. Bill, like, don't get it twisted. Bill Russell averaged 15 points, but he averaged like 23 rebounds.
Again, this is during an era where all the numbers were inflated. That's all I'm saying. We look at the numbers from that era.
You can't control that, man. You can't control that. All you can do is play the game when it's done.
No, you can't. You can't control that. But I'm just saying, like, we know when it comes down to Bill Russell conversation about the GOAT is not about him rebounding the ball. It's about the 11 championships. That's the conversation. Bill Russell is in this conversation, and it's for the rings. That's it. If we don't talk about rings, Bill Russell is not mentioned.
If Bill Russell averaged 14 assists in the 60s, he wouldn't be in the conversation with 11 rings.
You say what?
If Bill Russell was averaging 14 rebounds with 11 rings, he wouldn't be in the conversation. If Bill Russell wasn't known as one of the best defenders of all time, he wouldn't be in the conversation. The 11 rings just compliment him. It just boosts him up to be in a top 10 conversation. I think the rings are more of a compliment than the stats.
I'm saying that for him, his conversation is about rings. If we talk about the greatest one of all time,
but
Bill
that's hot sauce. That's hot sauce on the beans, though.
It's not. It's not.
It is.
It
is.
It's everything.
It's hot sauce on the beans.
Nah, man. Everything else is the.
So you saying it's bacon? It's necessary.
No, I'm saying if Bill Russell didn't win rings, then we wouldn't talk about him would we talk about him in the top 50?
Look, my thing is, I'm gonna make sure people see it on the screen. I'm strictly saying when we talk about stats versus rings, I think the stats gotta be there. Once you throw the ring on top of that, that's what boosts you up. Stats are more important.
That's not my argument. My argument is when it comes down to a player, because I'm measuring players who have stats or who have rings versus players who have stats. So when it comes down to Russ, has averaged a triple-double for like 5 seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, we understood that Steph was a better player. For the most part, we got blinded by the triple-double at one point, but you know, the first time that he did it, we got blinded by it. It was like, damn, Russ better.
What you mean blinded? What you mean blinded?
No, I'm saying we got seduced by it. That's how it is. We was like, yeah, Russ better than Steph. Steph kept collecting rings.
Saying that?
Huh?
So how many people saying that?
But I'm saying
he had a better season.
But at the same time, Russ had better stats.
Yeah.
Russ had better stats, and Russ had better stats than Steph for like 5 years straight. We never really felt like Russ was there. Like 5 years straight. We knew.
I'm not sure about that one, but okay.
I'm saying 5 years straight. Even when he went to what you call him? 5 years straight, yeah. So I'm just saying, like, when it comes to it, we knew at the end of the day that Steph was the better player.
If Russ had the same amount of rings as Steph, people would probably still lean towards Steph because of his stats.
If Russ averaging a triple-double, getting this and winning championships?
Because of Steph's score. Steph's a better scorer, and he more. I think that's, and I'm just going by the root of the NBA. Clear as day, more points and efficiency is where the love is at. So Steph won that argument all the time.
No, but I'm saying the Herculean effort is still going to be we gonna still fall in love. That's
we can't say that because I don't think Russell won with he wouldn't win it in the Herculean effort. He would
no.
win
I'm
it
saying I'm
in a
saying
good situation.
no, but
Like his best chance outside of KD was Paul George, and I was gonna say Paul George Carmelo, but that was a disaster. So I'll say Paul George. And if that's the case, then that's not Herculean effort. That's when you got a team around you. That's not Allen Iverson. That's just a good team.
no, but even with that still, we know Paul George wasn't. Paul George, no version of Paul George was better than KD when he was in OKC. No, so it was
But Russ was better though.
Russ was better. So I'm saying we would give that love to Russ. So I'm saying if Russ was averaging a triple double, winning championships, Russ would be. We'll be talking about Russ in a whole different light. But my thing is like the way that you're comparing it and I'm comparing it. We're comparing two different things. You're comparing people with championships and rings, and I'm saying championship versus rings.
We can go any route. Which you rather go another route?
I'm just saying.
We can pick strictly stats versus
no, but I'm
strictly
saying
rings.
I just made my point. I took Steph and Russ. Russ had better stats than him for 5 straight seasons. He was
all time. Steph probably still. I'm more sure Steph still have better stats.
all time.
Again, we value scoring and efficiency. Let's not play ignorant now. Let's go back to who's the quote unquote GOAT. It's because he has a lot of points and he's efficient. Why is Wilt in everybody's top 10 and top 5? He has a lot of points and he's efficient. Steph versus Russ. Who has more points? Steph. Who's more efficient? Steph. Even though he averaged more rebounds and assists. That's all the edge he has. That's all.
No,
so stats will still edge Steph.
So I'm saying over the 5-year time span, because what you're trying to
what 5 years? What 5 years are talking?
No, I'm saying over the 5-year time span that Russ started averaging a triple double.
Okay.
So from KD, and it's been more than 5 years. So since KD left OKC to the Washington Wizards, Russ, Steph has been a better player when he's been healthy, because I think 1 year Steph got hurt. But when Steph has been healthy, Steph was better than Russ every year that they were playing. So we never thought that Russ was better than Steph. And when the minute that we thought Russ was better than Steph, then Russ got eliminated by Donovan Mitchell. Like we don't have to play this. Like it's about the rings. It's about the bling. That's what it is.
We'll let the people decide. Again, my closing statement is saying you need stats for us to even look at you. You know, yeah, Giannis PER is up there. He putting up Shaq numbers. That's why we're looking at him like, that he might be in that top 20. I guess we didn't get to that part. Yeah, we're gonna get to that top 20 soon. But yeah, you need the stats to walk to the door. Then there's a secret room in the back. You know what I'm saying? Like this, feel me out what I'm saying. It's like they got the NBA players, yeah. Then they got the Hall of Famers. Then they got the legends. And then they got that top 10. What you need to do to get that top 10? You have them stats, them accolades. Boom. Then it's like you gotta get to that deep. That gotta start trimming even more, straining even more. That's when let me see that bling. That's when the rings come in, and now we gotta start nitpicking. So I think stats is more important than rings.
All right.